Alright guys, we've tried Final Form Cooler. It's now Birdku's turn. Very excited to be using him. He is rainbowed. We do have him at level 10 links as well. Have some skill orbs equipped, which I think I also had a couple on Cooler as well. They've been on for years. Don't really pay too much attention to those. We've got them on a pretty stacked setup on SSJ4 Goku's team. He's already on a 1.3 million attack stat, and we haven't actually done anything yet. With 546k defense, which will take a leap considering he is massively raising defense by 100% on an 18 key super attack. So where Cooler stacks attack, Goku stacks defense, and he's starting with key plus 7, 259% attack and defense. Attacks are effective against all types and has guaranteed guard. And then of course we do have the build up every time he's hit as well, which we need to start building him. So because we are at 60% HP or more, he does have 70% damage reduction for 3 turns. One thing I want to test immediately, kind of like Cooler, is I'm going to put him in slot 1. I'm going to put him in slot 1, see how much he tanks, see if he actually survives. Whether he does or doesn't, we'll find out. And then essentially go from there. But of course, this is turn 1. He has no build-up. We've got the extra defense for receiving an attack there with 200%. So he has a little bit more bulk to him and 1 partial build-up and 92 damage. And he's already started with 64 mil. That's crazy. That's crazy. Not only have we just put him in slot 1, not only have we kind of protected the rest of the rotation. I mean, I say that Goku was there, but let's just say he wasn't. Let's just say we didn't have another slot 1 unit. Not only does that protect the rest of the rotation, like we're on turn 1, not only does that help, you know, Goku becomes the umbrella to protect the rest of the rotation. You know, you're sorting your rotations out, it's early on. It might be all over the place. The fact that you can just pop him in slot 1, great. Great. Then for every attack received, he does gain key plus 2 up to 6, and then attack plus 59% up to 159%, so literally about 3 attacks, which we've definitely already taken. Yeah, definitely already taken. We literally had bang on 3 attacks in slot 1. Then, when activating the active skill, when attacking with 18 or more key, which of course we did do, 159% attack, which I can see why his damage is over 60 mil, just like that. Because you've got the very quick build-up, which again literally takes 3 attacks, which majority of the time, and I said this about Beast Gohan's counters, majority of the content in the game, majority of the time, a lot of attacks are typically, keyword there, typically, usually, in slot 0 to slot 1. So with you putting Birdku in slot 1, with you putting him where essentially he's supposed to be, where you want him, you're going to get that build up literally turn 1 immediately, which is great because it means he's got all of his key, all of his damage output almost maximized on the word go. Then starting from the 5th turn, which of course we haven't got to yet, he will get an extra 59% damage reduction before attacking 1 time, which means he's going to be an even better slot 1 unit. I say even better. Essentially, it kind of not cancels out, but he does lose the 70% damage reduction. So essentially he becomes a little bit worse off, but then by then you've got your build up. So again, you would have stacked by then as well. So it kind of balances out. You kind of trade the extra damage reduction for more defense, if you will. And then when your HP is 60% or more, which of course at the start of the very beginning of the fight he has 259% attack and defense, which he has 1 time, which is probably why he done over 60 mil. He has a guaranteed additional super attack for 3 times, which is going to help for extra damage output. Superclass allies defense 59%, which doesn't say self-excluded, so he also gets, but that did mean SSJ4 Goku and Blue Goku, was trying to remember who was on the rotation, did also get that buff. And then of course we've got 70% damage reduction, which we do have for 3 turns, which he will have next turn, and then we're done. Which, very, very nice indeed, especially again while early on we're stacking up his defense. You know, we're building him up, even though the build up is quick. But even though we're stacking him, you know, we just started. He only stacks on 18 key. He's only super attack once. Yes, the 100% stack is going to be quick. We saw it with Cooler's attack stat. That 100% defense stack is going to build up his defense so quickly, which is why I don't see it as a problem that after 3 turns, he loses the 70% damage reduction. But then on the 5th turn, gets 59%. That does leave him a little bit vulnerable on turn 4. You know, if there's an in-between, that does kind of leave him a little bit vulnerable. Although, by then again, you would have stacked some defense. Let's quickly take a look at where he's sitting right now. I mean, we're only on 579k defense. That seems a little bit low. A little bit low. I mean, to be fair, we did lose the 259% attack and defense. That's probably why. Yeah, that's probably why, because of course it's gone up, but we've then lost a lot of stats that he gets one time. So essentially we're kind of recouping that. So do you know what we're going to do? We're going to test him again in slot 1. This time, I'll say test him again. He actually has, again, more defense than he did last time, because the stacks basically recouped the majority of that. But we're just going to put him in slot 1. This is where Birdku used to get put, so we're just going to see how you do in 2026, where you used to belong. 19 damage. Cool. 54. Again, that 259% attack and defense is gone. So, of course, attack stat's going to be a little bit lower as well. But, I mean, he's still putting out good numbers. Like, this is a unit built for slot 1. This is a unit that stacks defense by 100%. He's meant to be defensively solid. He stacks quickly. Damage reduction, guard, the works. And he's actually putting out some pretty solid numbers offensively. Like, he actually does somewhat solid damage as well, which is great. I'm already loving him. I'm already loving him. I don't know if I'm having as much fun as I was with Cooler, because that was on a whole nother level. Like, he's ridiculous. But this is the Birdku that I absolutely loved back in 2022. This was the Birdku that was a mainstay on like every single team I could squeeze him on. Especially with that revival, by the way, which we need to trigger that. But he was a mainstay on so many teams for me. Like, I purposely made sure he was on so many teams because he was so good. So to basically have that back in 2026, big positive for me. Big positive. But the revival is something we do need to trigger. Of course, if you do have any other revival units on the team, works out perfectly because he doesn't need to be the unit to die to trigger his revival in his passive. So you can get the buffs needed from after his revival skill or someone else's. Although you do kind of want his, because his gets extra buffs and his are really good. They're sick. So we do want those. Which, after we do trigger his or a character's revival skill, he essentially gets the 259% attack and defense back that he gets for one turn. Which is great. Because again, by then you would have stacked a few times, so his defense is going to look beefed up. You get that damage back, which is great. And again, you get that extra padding. You got the guaranteed additional super, which again, with the additional he's got anyway, which I mean, I doubt you can combine them. I mean, if you purposely manage to set up a rotation where Goku dies within 3 turns, that way you get to have both guaranteed additional supers, which I mean, you can't do anyway because it has to be from turn 5, but if you could, that would be great. But essentially we get that guaranteed additional super back that we had for 3 turns for when our HP is 60% or more when he appears. And then we have a 70% chance of performing a crit, which, I mean, with him doing between 50 and 60 mil, almost 70 mil, and then any additionals, again, he's going to be doing some pretty good damage, especially if they are coming off his crits. Might not be the same levels of Cooler, but again, Cooler stacks defense. But either way, great defensive unit, amazing slot 1 unit by the looks of things so far, with some pretty solid output offensively as well. He's also greatly raising attack by 50% for 4 turns on 12 key, which, with those additionals, as I said, he's going to be doing some solid damage. You know, he's got a couple super attacks in him. He's then got the 70% chance to crit after you trigger the revival. That's even more damage done to actual health. And then he's getting a 50% attack raise on 12 key. Yeah, of course, it's not going to do as much damage as the 18 key initial super attack you do, but still a 50% attack raise nonetheless. And then after the character revival skill is activated, so this is if Goku's is activated, you'll get a 40% damage reduction and superclass allies 59% attack and defense within the next character's attack in turn. So we really want to trigger his revival, because not only do we get the stats, the guaranteed additional super and crit for just anyone's revival being activated, but then we get the 40% damage reduction, which we definitely want to go with the guard, because on turn 5, so right now, we've got 59% damage reduction before attacking. But don't forget, we've now lost our 70% damage reduction. So Goku just has, wherever you've stacked his build up and his raw defense with the guard and 59% damage reduction on the 5th turn only, we will then lose this after this turn. And this is where we kind of want to force the revival. We want the revival so we can get the damage reduction back to go with our stacking defense and to go with the guard. So he's up to 869k defense, which isn't too bad. But again, by this point, you're wanting Goku to die. Like, between now and next time he appears, you want Goku to die. You want to trigger his revival so you get the damage reduction, so you get all those buffs for revival being activated. So we're going to see how much he takes here. Again, just over 800k defense with 59% damage reduction in slot 0. Obviously takes a lot more damage. Obviously takes a lot more damage. But I feel like Dokkan has set it up this way so you can trigger his revival. So Birdku's in slot 1. So he takes a lot of damage. Maybe dies. But so you take a lot of damage and then maybe you die later on in the rotation. But I think they've made it this way. So essentially you trigger his revival basically after he loses everything. Which, while in some very few cases might be a little bit annoying, you might be like, I kind of want to hold on to it, or, you know, as I said, you want to hold on to it, you want to save it for later down the line, somewhere where it might be a little bit more needed, or maybe there's just something else going on in the rotation that you'd rather do than trigger the revival. Which, again, probably only a finite amount of situations where you'd want to do that. It's built so he can immediately go into his revival, and you've basically got him back performing at his best again. Now, sometimes revivals can be a little bit finicky, don't get it twisted, it does happen, but I don't feel like it's too difficult to do. Like, I'm hoping we die here. Like, SSJ4 Daimogoku's got his attack buff. We could actually die. We definitely died. There we go. There's the revival.
Sorry, everyone. It's all because of me.
And that's what I mean. After he loses the 3 turns of 70% damage reduction, after you lose the initial just base damage reduction that you have there, you know, you have the 1 turn of 59% damage reduction, it's pretty much set up, or at least it looks like to me anyway. I could be wrong, but it definitely looks that way. It's set up to kind of trigger the revival. It's set up as a domino to basically be like, okay, Birdku's a bit weaker. Yes, you stacked a bit. And again, depending on what event you're in, depending on what setup you've got and what's going on, maybe it might trigger, maybe you might miss out on it, maybe it won't type situation. But it's set up so you die. It's set up so you're more than likely going to get the revival. Which, I mean, by that point, if you leave him in slot 1, as you saw there, he takes enough damage. And any of the more newer content we have now should probably kill him by that point. To the point where you trigger the revival, you force it, so you get Birdku, as I said, back at his best. And I like the way that sets up, because it immediately means he's not really performing any worse, apart from the initial turn where you're wanting the revival, if that makes sense. So now that we have triggered the revival, we've got that permanent 259% attack and defense now. We've got that back, essentially. We've now got the guaranteed additional super permanently for the rest of the fight. We've now got 70% chance to crit, which to go over his super attacks, which again, we're doing some pretty solid damage with, and all the additionals. It means we can start chipping away at enemies' health a bit more. And then now that we triggered his revival, we've now got the 40% damage reduction. We've got some damage reduction back to go with the defense we've been stacking, to go with the guard. And we're also giving superclass allies 59% attack and defense within the character's next attacking turn. So of course, this rotation won't have it. It's next rotation that will have the support. So the support's very nice, but the main part that we want is the damage reduction, and we've now got that back. I'm just hoping that we survive. That's what I'm hoping, is that we actually survive. Because, well, we've just triggered the revival. So, Daimogoku, if you could not die here, that would be great. Otherwise, I've got to come back. Did we survive the normals? We survived. We're alive, but barely. We're alive, but barely. Barely. And then now, because we did trigger the revival, we do have the active skill, which can be activated when HP is 59% or less, starting from the 5th turn, or after you pop the revival. So, I mean, if you manage to somehow get the revival before this, you can have the active skill ready to go whenever. If not, which I don't really see a world unless you, I don't know, put him in the worst possible scenario, which is like slot 0 against maybe like Bio Broly, you're more than likely going to get some turn 5, where he'll greatly raise attack temporarily, cause ultimate damage to the enemy, and disable enemy's action once within a turn. So again, another attack break. Where are we sitting in terms of defense? 2.18, but that is with guaranteed guard and 40% damage reduction. But again, 100% defense stack, it will stack fairly quickly. Not as much defense as, say, Cooler has attack. I will definitely say that. Like, that is noticeable. Like, Cooler's attack stat just flew up. But I feel like that's because Birdku has a little bit more priority put in his attack, so he's actually doing damage compared to when he first released. Like, he wasn't weak, but he wasn't doing this kind of levels back in 2022. So the defense is definitely still there. The revival is amazing. It helps. You got the damage reduction and guard. But defensively, you're not getting as much defense as Cooler would get attack based on his passive. But either way, we're still stacking up quickly, which is great. But let's pop this active skill, do a little bit of damage with Birdku. And I forgot to put the animations on, but we're going to roll with it. Solid damage, especially now that we do have the 70% chance to crit. So, of course, we're going to do a bit more damage as well. The funny thing is, though, he's obviously not going to survive in slot 1 because, well, we have next to no health. I'm not going to put that down as Goku's problem, but we do kind of have next to no health. So, I don't think we're going to survive. The good thing is, this entire rotation with all their active skills and a big heavy hitter like SJ4 Daimagoku does have that superclass allies 59% attack and defense support, which is great. Let's just see if he does. Let's just see if he does. I mean, based on how much damage he takes here, I mean, we're probably going to die. But even if we do, we can see how much he would tank regardless. Of course, double digits and normals. We might have actually attack broke the super. Never mind. And we're back up to 79.4. Yeah. Again, I know this is 2026, but 2022 Birdku wasn't putting out this levels of numbers back when whatever the levels of numbers were back then. And that 70% chance to crit is putting in work. So again, while they both have 100% raises on Cooler, for example, on attack, Birdku on defense, Goku definitely doesn't build the defense up as quick as Cooler builds his attack up. But still, you do stack the defense fairly quickly. And again, this is going to be another unit, especially because it's defense over offense, unlike Cooler. Even though I think Cooler will be amazing in Festival of Battles anyway, Birdku will probably be chilling in Festival of Battles. I mean, I know it's got a lot easier recently, like over the last year with like a lot of stacking units, obviously. But Birdku will chill in that event. You know, you've got a revival, you've got damage reduction, you've got guard. You're stacking 100% defense every time he appears. Put him with like Vegeta and Trunks as well with their stack for everyone else. Birdku is chilling. Like, dare I say, without even seeing anything, maybe Birdku just wins you that majority by himself. He's good though. He's very, very good though. I like the fact that he's great defensively. I like the fact that he's a slot 1 option. Obviously, revivals are still one of the strongest team support in the whole game. Like, it's so handy to have. It's so easy to set his up because essentially he becomes worse so he can be better. It's like a caterpillar going into a butterfly, you know? That's basically what Birdku is when he loses all of his buffs. Like, you're meant to hit the revival then. If you don't, a little bit unlucky, I'm not going to lie, but you're meant to hit the revival at that point. And I like the fact he's actually doing damage now. You know, you're doing 3 super attacks. He's doing 70 mil at his best, or some of his best. You now got 70% chance to crit to go with it. You got 50, 60 mils on additional supers. He does some very good damage. Like, very good damage. Would there potentially be some instances where he gets caught? Probably. But few. And not too many units in the game have those at this point. But there's probably a few instances where he will get caught. Other than that, great slot 1. Great defensive unit. Strong support for the team with the revival. Always has been. And he's actually doing some really good damage now. The one thing I will say, as I said, he doesn't build his defense up as quick as Cooler builds his attack. But either way, the 100% defense stack is a big, big help. Big, big help. So essentially, we're back in 2022. Birdku and Cooler are back. 100% they are back. Some of the best EZAs in the game. But you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments, guys. What do you think of Birdku? Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great day, and peace.